Using my Proxxon hot wire cutter along with a custom table extension I built for it, I measure out the width I want and then cut the inch-thick XPS foam sheet I have to size. I wanted something close to 1 foot by 2 feet, but I wasn't too worried about the exact dimensions. If you're interested in how I built this table extension, as well as how to make an XPS foam alternative, a link to that video should be appearing in the top right corner of your screen now, as well as being listed in the description. With the rough cut made, I create a wavy and jagged edge to break up the clean, rectangular edge. I then cut a second tier in the same manner, though this one only about 1 foot by 1 foot square. I create a slope down from the top of the second tier down to the first tier, carving rough guidelines with a utility knife. These cuts are shallower near the top of the slope and deeper towards the bottom. With a flathead screwdriver, I barbarically pry and tear away the foam in rough chunks. After patching a friend of mine's ceiling holes, I was given some random leftover things, including this, a can of wall texture spray that I used to give the patched work some random popcorn-like texture to match the rest of the ceiling. This can is actually the entire reason why I decided to build a piece of random terrain, something I haven't done in a very long time. I wanted to see if this would be quick and an easy way to create rough ground texture, albeit being an extremely expensive way to do so considering that this can runs for about $20. I spray this on first on some scrap XPS to see how it reacts, not sure if the chemicals inside would eat away at the XPS foam or not. After waiting 30 minutes, the scrap foam was fine, so I used some wood glue to stick the 2 tiers of my working pieces together before spraying the terrain down. It took less than a minute to cover the entire thing, and I had plenty of this wall texture left in the can, enough to likely do 2 or 3 more pieces of this size. While expensive, the stuff does a nice job of quickly providing uneven ground. I let it dry and then I take it back inside. There's some stains appearing through the wall texture, which I believe to be errant drops of wood glue coming through. While the wall texture spray does help break up the smooth flatness of the XPS foam, it's still not as rough and gritty as I'd want it to be. I spread some PVA glue around, apparently with a dirty ass brush, Jesus, and I sprinkle rocks around the board. I thinned down AK Interactive's Lunar Desert with some water and spread this everywhere. It took about an entire small container of the paste, while thinned down, to cover the entire piece. Once this is dry, I pull out an old friend, some homemade, magical, and more importantly, cheap blackwash, and I thin it down with some additional water before spreading it all over the terrain piece. I wouldn't use this stuff on miniatures, but on terrain, it's amazing. And it's absolutely mine. I made it, and I invented it. I did not steal this exact recipe from Blackmagic's Better Blackwash video at all. That video is not in this description, and most definitely is not in the top right corner of your screen now, and you most certainly should not click on it to see where I stole this recipe from. Finally, I apply a dry brushing of a lighter gray, and then a final but minimal dry brushing of a second, even lighter gray. And this is what I ended up with. This was a fun and very simple project. I got to try something new out with the wall texture spray, which I have to admit, I'm not sure I'd bother with in the future, just because it's too expensive. It's also a little friable and it can chip away fairly easily. If you're building terrain for a display purpose, then it's fine, but for gaming use, it would likely become damaged easily. I think substituting this with actual popcorn patching from the tub Might be viable though. We're talking about $30 for 2 gallons of the stuff, or $8 for a quart. The popcorn texture would come a lot closer to the look and the rough feel of AK Interactive's Lunar Desert Paste. And that'll bring this video to its end. I hope you learned something or inspired to make your own terrain with random home improvement hand-me-downs. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and if you like the content of this video and would like to see more, you can support the channel by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. I'm Jim with Working with Miniatures. I'm truly grateful for your time, and I bid you a fond farewell. Until the next video.